South China Morning Post, 30th of May 2023, How China is extending its extensive law enforcement presence throughout Africa. China has increased its influence in Africa's law enforcement as part of its efforts to defend its citizens overseas or apprehend individuals wanted for alleged crimes against the Chinese overlords in Africa. According to research by Africa-China security expert Paul Nantulya, China has signed public security and law enforcement agreements with almost 40 African states, ranging from South Africa to the North African countries of Algeria, Tunisia, and Egypt. He illustrates the joint operation in Uganda that resulted in the arrest and expulsion of 4 Chinese nationals who were reportedly members of a criminal gang. In the mission in January 2022, 30 Chinese commandos worked alongside Ugandan special forces. Chinese people are increasingly the target of attacks as China advances into African nations and finances large-scale projects as part of its Belt and Road Initiative. The most recent fatalities occurred in March at a gold mining site in the Central African Republic, where 9 Chinese employees perished. Chinese people have been cautioned that kidnappings and attacks are more likely in Nigeria and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, both wealthy in natural resources. When the situation deteriorated last year, China's Public Security Ministry dispatched a team of experts to the DRC. Beijing also said it would deploy criminal investigators to Nigeria in response to increased kidnappings and attacks on Chinese citizens there. According to Nantulya, security cooperation and the promotion of Chinese policing norms within African police forces are expanding. More than 2,000 African law enforcement and police officers, he claimed, have been trained in China between 2018 and 2021. The Africa Center for Strategic Studies at the National Defense University in Washington, where Nantulya is a research associate, released the paper last week. One of the agreements was a cooperation framework to safeguard major Chinese-assisted projects in the country, like the Addis Ababa-Djibouti Standard Gauge Railway, signed by Ethiopia and China's Ministry of Public Security. A mercenary special police force was established in neighboring Kenya in cooperation with China to guard the Mombasa-Nairobi Standard Gauge Railway. On the extensive list of nations collaborating with China on law enforcement are Angola, Mozambique, Lesotho, South Africa, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Mauritius, Seychelles, Madagascar, and Tanzania. According to Nantulya, joint operations are among several Chinese law enforcement initiatives in Africa that have largely escaped scrutiny, while the locals battle their Chinese conquerors. Unbeknownst to many, he added, China carries out foreign public security and law enforcement activities more frequently than the People's Liberation Army. According to Nantulya, China has also constructed police training facilities and police stations and provided police care throughout most of Africa. He claimed that because of China's no-questions-asked policy, equipment could be purchased without worrying about export restrictions relating to human rights or end-user oversight. According to Nantulya, African nations received $3.56 billion in Chinese loans between 2003 and 2017 for public security, including surveillance equipment, national security networks, and other security items, including anti-riot gear. He claimed the figure was probably underestimated because most equipment was included in military purchases. Meanwhile, Nantulya noted that political and ideological ideas based on the Communist Party paradigm of complete party control of the security services and the state are included in Chinese police training and technical capabilities. According to Nantulya, China's Special Police College, which conducts terrorist training, has connections with Nigeria, Lesotho, Mauritius, and at least 20 other nations. He also cited Rwanda and the African Union's counter-terrorism initiative as examples of continuous collaborations between the Shandong Police College and these organizations. Some training is conducted in Africa, such as a joint program between the Chinese Academy of Governance and the Algerian Ministry of Interior and local authorities. Between 2015 and 2018, more than 400 Algerian police, law enforcement, and civil service employees completed the program. China has an especially sympathetic audience among confident African leaders worried about their regime's survival. The Communist Party's population control strategies and its pervasive and massive police state apparatus, which exceeds the PLA's budget, are admired, according to Nantulya. Within the framework of its proposed global security initiative, Beijing wants to increase interactions and collaboration with repressive military and police academies. According to the program's concept paper, published in February, China is willing to provide other developing countries with 5,000 training opportunities in the next 5 years to train professionals for addressing global Chinese security issues. Several years ago, China has been expanding its engagement with African police forces both at the request of African governments and to improve security for Chinese nationals visiting, living, and working in Africa, according to David Shin, a professor at George Washington University's Elliott School of International Affairs. The largest Chinese community on the continent is in South Africa, where security cooperation has grown mainly. While most of this collaboration has been beneficial and has given African forces helpful training, it does raise serious concerns in those nations where the police have a reputation for being exceedingly corrupt.